Okay, so I have another one in me. I just realized. So, yeah, here we go. Yeah, the last so I just finished doing rigid belief systems. So if in terms of waiting for timeline, so here we are. I'm not gonna do any kind of setup for this because I just did a really long setup with rigid belief systems. But this is the last section in that we will do in this cycle. So this is actually like bidding adieu to interruptions and stressors because this is the last chapter of part 2. Chapter 3 is all practices and the wrap up chapter. But so this is the last interruption. So we're on page 258. I know I still have a little juice in me, like as far as, and last, I think I went for about an hour on the last one, and it was full of spice and editorial. so, so yeah, yeah. So there's that. So I'm just gonna get into this. I'm gonna start reading, and um, and if you're dipping into this without having any context, we're just talking about what impacts our ability to understand and think and be curious, be inquisitive, allow new ideas, be expansive in this hub. And what are the factors that impact the initial development of this part of our nervous system? So let's get into it. So censorship and suppression of curiosity. Let's see what did I write here? I think this, yeah. Okay. So a parent's role in intellectual and spiritual development is massive. When parents are highly interrupted with their own adaptations and holding patterns in this hub, they can genuinely believe that teaching a rigid belief system is for the good of their child. Parents can unintentionally limit their child's intellectual capacity, often in the name of safety and protection. And when they suppress curiosity, they limit options and or censor information. I think this is something that is done for the most part unintentionally. And and even if you look at your own process of coming to understand the world in terms that make sense for you. I mean, if you loved someone, if you cared for somebody and were trying to do so to the best of your ability, it's kind of easy to imagine that you would want them to know everything that you have learned and that you'd want them to have the best guidance possible, which which in many cases is understood to be like the guidance that you have to offer that is related to your personal experience. So I don't consider this to be malevolent. I actually consider this, in most cases, to be well-intentioned, that parents want to protect their children, so they protect them from information that scares them, so or just that, yeah, protect them from information, censorship. So anyway, children need mental stimulation. And when deprived of mental nourishment, they experience cognitive starvation that interrupts intellectual development. So parents who intentionally control and withhold information, not allowing for or not supporting the exploration of different ideas, attempt to prune their children into their own image. Yeah, I think like in there's sort of there's like a little bit of a implication of malevolence that I just don't think it's really there. I don't think it's there. I mean, and this is my editorial opinion on this. So that I don't think that parents that, prune their children into their own image are doing that because they want to harm them. I think it's because they want to protect them, because I think the alternatives are considered to be dangerous or scary or bad for them. Like if they think like, oh, if you believe this, you'll go to hell. If you do this, you'll go to hell. Um, even stuff that has to do with like societal implications of like the risk of like what will people think, what will people say about you. I don't want you to be teased. I don't want you to be ostracized. I don't want you to struggle. And to a certain extent, it's not totally wrong. Like it's not even to a certain extent. It's like to teach your children to operate in the status quo, societal status quo, is keeping them safe in this very particular way. I mean, it's keeping them safe on the outside and then creating the, war inside. But, I mean, it's really, this really goes to like this kind of self-governance component of this process, because, if you look at this first, this initial stage that's like creating the context that everything else is built off of in our lives, that it's like this is the context, and then we can revisit it and consciously reclaim it if we opt into doing so and choosing to. So some parents believe that they must have all the answers and become defensive when they don't, and either laugh at or shame so-called stupid questions. This blocks the future leadership capacity for the growing child. Leading is a daunting proposition when it requires being better and more intelligent than everyone else. Many bosses will reenact this interrupted behavior pattern and build teams that they are confident they can dominate. These are work environments in which questioning is restricted and misinformation and lies are provided to protect leadership against the threat of being exposed as fallible, having strengths and weaknesses just like everybody else. So here's my this is a callback, and it just occurred to me to, I guess it was like managers versus leaders in chapter 6 for the third hub, which is that this type of like suppression of curiosity and censorship is like it's antithetical to creating leadership. So teaching, like encouraging and increasing the capacity for thinking dynamically, expansively, creatively is like this is how you arm a child, immediately, like just with the ability to be really strong as an adult. And when I'm talking about even like a professional life, that, this thing of like making, like creating a lot of rigidity in thinking, and even fear of authority, censorship, suppression of curiosity. This creates individual contributors. And one of the things I'll say as a, like I guess now, as a from my experience as an executive and in leadership, is that there's this thing where it's like I did everything right and then I didn't really get what I want. And also people that are like so ambitious to grow in their career as like the right thing to do, and just hitting this wall at the individual contributor level because they can't stop being obedient. And leadership requires that you're willing to take a stand for what you believe is the right thing to do. And I'm talking about this not just as a moral, I'm talking about this as like, I'm going to talk about this in a very conventional sense of like business is like seeing how something actually can work, in terms of a strategy, and being able to stand by it, even though everyone disagrees with you, knowing knowing that this is what's going to drive the business forward, and being able to stand confidently in that, and then win. But you go through the whole period where nobody believes in you, or everyone's fighting you, or you're like everything's at risk and whatever, is to be, the thing is like that's got to be it. And even the thing about being a leader, some folks I've had, as like even at like VP level who work for me, who are so afraid for themselves that they can't take stands for the people that work for them. They can't take stands, like, as far as saying, I believe in this person's potential because this is what I see. I see the potential. I get it. I'm going to, put my self on the line to promote this person. I'm going to, fight for this person to get the right thing. I'm going to fight for this person to make more money. I'm going to fight for this person to, get whatever, fill it in. That quality, if you are a like strong, rigid thinking, curiosity suppressed, obedient person, that quality, it's like, I think there's a book that's called like What Got You Here Won't Get You There. I don't know what the book's about, but that just the name of it alone is like, that's it. There's more to it than that. Certainly more to it than this, but just as one quality, and I'm just talking about, sort of my own very like natural ascension as a leader. I had no ambition about being a leader. I had no ambition about being a leader, but I was just so naturally, clearly a leader because it just would always, like I was pushed into every leadership situation because I was like, I'm good here. In terms of just like mastering like what I was doing. And I wasn't really interested in, actually, this is good to remember. I wasn't interested in being a boss or holding power, because when I had it, I really felt the responsibility of it. I didn't feel like the joy because I didn't really need the validation of other people. It was really hollow, and really unstable. Like the idea of like how many people work under me in an organization. It's like, it's just really unstable. It like would create this sense of importance, but there's also this instability with it because it's like, well, if I don't have my job, I don't have this. So I just like would lose who I am, like my power. So you talk about stuff that's like in Parinama, like that's in there, which is like if it's about stuff that if your personal power is like related to validations, then it's just always unstable versus being like, this is like emanating from me. But just to go back to this is that the accidental outcome here is that you create managers. In terms of like development of leadership in other people and even in ourselves, is that we need to be brave enough. We need to be curious enough. We need to be able to see more broadly, be brave enough, have questions, question the status quo. Question. Like see things with fresh eyes, like look freshly at things and not be afraid. It's interesting that this was part of censorship and suppression of curiosity. But, I think the thing is that this really is, I mean, this really does point to like what I think is at the core of the suppression of curiosity, which is just insecurity of the people who developed that part of you. That's what this is the connection to, is it's the insecurity of folks believing that to be a parent, you have to have all the answers. To be a boss, you have to have all the answers. To be anyone who's deserving of a position of leadership or authority, you have to be better than everyone. You have to have more answers than everyone. And it's like, no, you need to be like brave enough to create the container and to like fight the parameters and like actually like advocate for people at potential of like personal loss because you believe in what you stand for. So that's the thing. That's the thing. The interruption is suppression of curiosity is just at its root, censorship is different than suppression of curiosity. I mean, censorship is literally about trying to protect people, like this notion of protection, which is actually just fear. Fear of probably what's inside of us, knowing what's inside of us, fear of external. I mean, I don't know that how censorship could be anything other than fear of knowing something about yourself, because how else could information be dangerous? I welcome entrance in the comments on that. I really do, because I don't know why else you'd use censorship other than to try to avoid knowing something about yourself. I mean, how can ideas in and of themselves, be dangerous other than them pointing truth and activating something within us that is like exists of integrity and authenticity? And I think there's ways that arises that are like kind of dark. So I want to like point to that. But in general, no. In general, not dark. In general, not dark. So okay, well, so this is a wrap for interruptions and stressors for our readings for this round for now. And I've loved every minute with you, with us together. Next, we'll be doing adaptations and holding patterns. And oh, yeah, I really like this chapter. I really do. I've not enjoyed being in it. I will say personally, I do not really like this aspect of self as much as I like I don't like this being this spacious. I don't like that, like, so in my practice as it's been related to this, I've not been enjoying how like ether it's been. I felt very like and I'm trying to run out of it. I really like the grounding. Yeah. Which is weird because yeah. Yeah. No, it just is. I'm not going to turn it into a rationalization. But next we'll do adaptations and holding patterns. So we'll talk about the characteristics of a balanced seventh hub. Out of balance and then shrinking, inflating. That's interesting. It's weird. Let's see how this plays out. Yeah. And then after that, holding patterns, which are so good. It's really good. It's really good. I'm really looking forward to it. So assumptions, holding patterns, assumptions, spiritual bypassing and denial. And then the shadow, absolute certainty. And then we'll get into techniques and exercises. Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. It's so like one of the prompts for this, the two prompts for techniques and exercises are use fingers to comb and massage scalp because I'm feeling like tingling in the kind of seventh hub tingliness. It's a thing. It's a thing. The tingling in the scalp, specifically at the top of the head. Please comment if you relate to this. It's a thing. It's very distinct. I remember the first time I like really tuned into it and I could feel that something was like trying to sort of enter my consciousness. It was really annoying. Like, or actually not annoying. I was on a bus in England. And I remember being like, it feels kind of nice, but it's also, I'm like, oh shoot. But so using fingers to comb and massage the scalp. So that's nice, but turn down external sensory stimulation. Yeah, this is part of the thing I don't think I'm liking that much right now. I'm like trying to block it out. So it's like I'm listening to a lot of podcasts, keeping like a lot of noise going. There's something, I mean, and this has to do with there's something that is seismic that's coming for me to know that I'm kind of like, I have this thing right now where I really want to stay in this kind of like sattvic space as I'm finishing this read through and really learning about what this is. And then there's this tension that's rising, which is this sense of the doingness is like starting to like create internal tension. Um, so it's like I'm holding it back and it's creating discomfort instead of just like allowing that to just show up and be what it's got to be. So, yeah. So there you have it. Look, no bangs. It's actually semi pulled off right now. It's not, it's weird. Yeah, I think I might be done with bangs. You tell me. Is it the right thing to do? Honestly, right now, whatever. Okay, so that's it. So any comments, of course, I will respond to. Any interaction, thank you for watching. Yeah, I really appreciate it. I really love being along this ride with you. And imagining, as mentioned in the preface of the book, is that I have this sense about the future you person who's watching this, and like that we're like right now you're doing something else, and that there's going to be this point of connection when you're watching this of like my past version of me recording this, and you wherever you are kind of converging with this. And I have a lot of love right now that's like traveling to wherever you are to just meet you in whatever state you're in, wherever place you're in, like whatever, like, and just thinking about like that we're going to meet here. So here we are. I'm glad you're here. And if you have any comments, go for it. I'll respond. Also, again, like once again, I'll just say that if you have any stuff, you don't have my personal contact information, and you don't know how to get in touch with me, if you direct message me on Parinoma Method, I'll do the best I can to respond to you. I care about what you're thinking and what you're feeling and like how you're responding to this, and whether you agree, disagree, have anything to add. It's been really valuable to hear other perspectives where people have added on. It's really nice. I really appreciate you. All right. I love you. I'll see you next time. Bye for now.